know, Co-op Talent, we know, provides short-term, flexible workforce support while also offering specialized skills that small companies often cannot afford to hire full-time. So if we're taking a look at the regulatory requirements, for example, we know that there are issues with food safety inspection requirements, that there are labeling and packaging requirements, all of which require significant documentation, extensive paperwork, frequent updates, and detailed compliance needs. And when you are hiring or engaging with a co-op student, this is one way that you can have a co-op student, specifically that students in food science or quality assurance, environmental health, regulatory affairs, they can come on board to your organization and for a 16-week work on a specific project. They can help with the HACCP documentation. They can assist with your SOPs and your CFIA compliance tasks. They can help to maintain your food safety logs and support audit preparation. They can conduct label reviews for compliance with CFIA labeling requirements. They can research regulatory requirements. Now we know that co-op students cannot work independently. They cannot work on their own. They do require a fair amount of mentorship and guidance. However, when we're getting the right kinds of students on board, they can provide the support that you need within your organization to get some of these smaller but critical tasks completed and completed in a timely manner. If we're taking a look at distribution and market access as something that smaller businesses are struggling with, yes, we know that a student cannot fix all of those problems, but they can help to improve the visibility of your product by updating or creating packaging designs and website contents to give your brand the visibility that it needs when competing against larger firms that have more established and developed resources. They can help to improve your social media presence and your brand consistency. They can assist your company with market research, competitors and pricing, and assist with selling strategies so that instead of viewing it as competition against the larger players in the market, you're able to find opportunities specific to your brand, specific to your smaller business that you're better able to leverage. And as for infrastructure and scaling limitations, we have to remember that if we're engaging our operations or engineering or even our business students, they can help your smaller firms plan for growth. They can help mapping your workflows and identifying production bottlenecks. They can help improve your plant layout or process flow. They can bring the experience that they are gaining from school into your establishment to help design a facility that is working in your best interest, that is improving your overall productivity. And we know that students can be a very big part of doing that. And we recognize that cost is a very big problem for a lot of our employers, large and small. And so with that in mind, here comes the Student Work Placement Program. This is a tremendous avenue for wage reimbursement, wage subsidy, to support employers in hiring eligible domestic post-secondary students for work integrated learning placements. This program is funded by ESDC, and Food Processing Skills Canada serves as one of 18 delivery partners. Now, we specifically function for the food and beverage processing sector. So we're talking about our food and beverage manufacturers. We're talking about our cannabis producers that are making edibles, or food-related associations, or retail grocery stores, or consultants in the field. If we're talking about food and beverage production, this is where we're falling. And this is for Food Processing Skills Canada as a delivery partner under the broad Student Work Placement Program umbrella. So through this program, employers can receive a wage subsidy of 70% of gross wages paid, up to $7,000 per student placement. Now, a very important part of this program is work integrated learning. And what that really is, it's a model and process of curricular experiential education, which formally and intentionally integrates a student's academic studies within a workplace or practice setting. So will experiences include an engaged partnership of at least an academic institution, a host employer organization, and a student. And this is a very important program requirement, right? Because what it means is that we're looking to fund work placements that are related to a student's program of study. We're not just funding jobs for the sake of jobs or short-term vacancies within an organization, but to develop that relationship between employer institution and student that says that this work placement is going to enhance the student's experience in their academic program of study, and that the student is able to bring their what they're learning in school into a workplace environment. It's that symbiotic relationship that we're trying to foster, and that is what we're looking to fund through this program. So we're talking specifically about mentorships, co-op placements, internships, and practicums. And a key component here is that we're looking for placements that are coordinated and endorsed by the post-secondary institution. Now, we say we need an engaged partnership of institution, employer, and student. And so we don't want to take the institution out of that conversation. The best bet for finding eligible students is always to go directly to the post-secondary institution, to reach out to their co-op department and say, hey, I have this specific need within my organization. Do you have a student or a group of students that you could recommend to fill that specific need within my organization? Engage with them on that level, have that conversation, find your eligible student, and that would then be the best avenue, the best fit to then come and apply to the student work placement program for funding. So regarding student eligibility, there are two major things that I want to highlight here. And again, we'll be sharing with you a copy of the deck and also the SWPP employer guide after this presentation, which will walk through the full funding structure and eligibility requirements. But the student must be a domestic student. So we're talking about Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or conferred refugees. And the placement must be recognized at work integrated learning related to their program or course of study. So the placement has to be endorsed by the post-secondary institution as a valid will opportunity. Students can serve for one term, they can serve for consecutive terms, and this is something that we do facilitate. And it's a reimbursement program. So employers are being reimbursed 70% up to 70% of wages paid to their students per term. So we offer two streams of funding. Our standard stream is up to $5,000 per eligible student, or increased subsidy stream to support persons with disabilities, visible minorities, women in STEM, newcomers, first-year students. Employers are eligible to receive 70% of wages up to $7,000 for those placements. How to apply? Once you have found a student, you've discussed with a post-secondary institution, you found an eligible co-op student that is a domestic student to come and work with your organization for a 16-week term or a term of up to 16 weeks per term. Then you start by going to our website, swpp-fpsc.com. That is our landing page for the Food Processing Skills Canada Delivered Student Work Placement Program. You start your online application. We review, we collect your eligible student documents, and at the end of the term, once all has been confirmed, we request your financial documents for review and are then able to reimburse the wages paid for that specific term to that student. We currently have funding available for fall 2025, which we're still accepting applications for. So if you as a post-secondary institution have connected students with employers, you can still refer those employers to access funding through the Student Work Placement Program. If you're still in the process of matching your students to employers for the winter 2026 term, you can still refer them to the Student Work Placement Program through Food Processing Skills Canada for funding for the winter 2026 term. For summer 2025, because that's retroactive funding, I would say reach out to me directly and we can discuss whether that placement would be eligible and if the student is likely to provide us with the eligibility documents needed to support an application before we can begin any conversations for summer 2025, but it is something that we are open to. So to start an application, SWPP-FPSC.com, recognizing that Food Processing Skills Canada is the delivery partner for the food and beverage processing industry. At this point in time, I would like to shift gears a bit, and I would like to open the floor to our panelists to join us in a part of their conversation. We recognize that they bring a wealth of experience to the table. They have been the ones dealing with our employers in finding their students. They have had their successes. The schools have had their positive and negative experiences, and I figured it would be a great opportunity to bring these wonderful experts on board to share some of what their insights have been. How can we give the best advice possible to our smaller employers so that we are avoiding some of the mistakes, we're learning from the past, and we're being better able to provide meaningful experiences for students that are looking for work experiences and for employers that are looking to bring on a co-op student. We want to set you up for success. And so I think it's good that we have this conversation where that is concerned. So let me just introduce you to our panelists. Again, we have Daniel Restrepo from Western University. He is an employer relationship developer at Western University, where he co-leads the social science and BMOS co-op program. With over 5 years of experience in connecting employers with student talent, Daniel is a passionate advocate for work integrated learning and its role in helping students gain meaningful experience. We also have with us Holly Clan. She's a graduate of the University of Manitoba's Asper School of Business, where she earned a Bachelor of Commerce honors degree in marketing and human resource management. She also holds a career development practitioner certificate from the University of Winnipeg. Throughout her career, Holly has focused on supporting both job seekers and employers through roles with Manitoba Start, the ASPA Co-op program, and for the past 3 years as experiential learning and co-op education coordinator in the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences at the University of Manitoba. We also have with us Andrea Kikuchi, who is the co-op and experiential learning assistant at University of New Brunswick St. John. For over 20 years, Andrea has worked with students in career education, academic advising, and event management. She has guided hundreds of students through their career and academic journeys, working closely with them in both teaching and coordination roles. She's a strong advocate for enhancing the student experience. Andrea believes that proactive, personalized advising is essential to student retention and ensuring successful work placements. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point so we can engage in that conversation. And I'm going to ask through the first question over to Daniel. The question I have for you, Daniel, is what unique value do co-op students bring to small or micro businesses?
Thank you, Camille. This is a question that really excites me because I believe that co-op students are a great resource for small businesses, and not just for small businesses, but really for any organization. Some of the things that I would like to highlight about co-op students is they often come to organizations with a fresh perspective. They they are innovative. They are in the classroom. They are listening from professors. They are having conversations with peers. They're eager to take these ideas that they're learning and put them into practice at organizations. So by allowing students, co-op students, to come to organizations, um, they're gonna come eager and really excited to put those into practice. Something else that co-op students are very valuable for at organizations is they're motivated. They are motivated, and not just motivated, but they're very adaptable. Um, in the program that I lead, students get academic credit for that experience. So when they come to the workplace, they want to do well. They want to pass the class that they're taking, but they also want to get experience that it can be used for after graduation. Um, and something else that I like to highlight with co-op students is that they want to make a strong impression. They want to look well when they're working at organizations because they're thinking about their career, they're thinking about their future. They want to network, they want to make good relationships. So they're very likely to do well in the workplace. And then perhaps the next item that I like to highlight for the value that co-op students add to organizations is, and Camille, you were alluding to this earlier, is they're very cost effective, and not just cost effective, but they also represent a lower risk when you're making a hire. So organizations, when they bring co-op students, you can typically offer a lower salary than what you would be offering someone who has a lot of experience, because in a way you're paying for training. However, when co-op students come to the organization and you're making a commitment, the commitment that you're making with a co-op student is typically for the short term. At Western, we through the different programs in the co-op offices, we offer students the opportunity to do short-term experiences, typically 4 months, but they can also do longer-term experiences, sometimes 8, 12, or 16 months, regardless of the length that the student is engaging with. The commitment with the student is for that period of time. So when they come to the organization, if things are working out, that's fantastic. Perhaps you're thinking about the future and maybe bringing them back. But if things are not working out the way you, as an employer, the way you think they should have or you desired, that commitment ends when the co-op ends. So it's a low risk, again, cost effective for organizations. And just a few more things that come to mind is they're very uh, most of the time students know they have a lot of digital knowledge and they're really helping the branding for the organization. It really helps organizations enhance and boost their reputation as well. And of course, if you're thinking for the future, this really adds value because you're not training someone for just a few months, but hopefully you're thinking in the long term, and hopefully you're thinking about enriching that talent pipeline.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle. Some very important things that you just shared there. I do like that you mentioned that students can serve varying lengths for their co-op placement or their internship with an organization. And it's important to note that they can get funding through the Student Work Placement Program, regardless of the duration. We have a minimum of 4 weeks up to a maximum of 16 weeks per term, but the student can serve consecutive terms. And through SWIP funding, that just means that the employer has to apply for multiple terms to cover the placement. If it's, for example, a 12-month placement, then we would expect to see an application for summer, an application for fall, an application for winter, each requiring their own eligibility documents, of course. But the funding opportunity is there, and the structure does allow for reimbursement for multiple terms. Another question that I have for you is if you can share a success story where a student made a noticeable impact on a micro or small business that you have worked with that has hired one of your co-op students.
For sure. Really thinking of one specific case is very difficult, and I think throughout the co-op offices at Western, we would agree that um, anytime our students end, we typically ask employers for feedback, and it's overwhelming how much good feedback we get from employers because they contribute greatly to organizations. I can specifically think about one case of a small organization in the London area. I met with them a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and they were looking for talent and they had a great issue. And Camila, again, you alluded to this earlier. Um, they were having an issue finding qualified talent. They were having an issue finding people who were ready to hit the ground running. So as a solution, we agreed that bringing a co-op student would help them um, have that low risk trial that I was referring to earlier, so that they will be able to train the student and really see how things worked out, hopefully with the idea to bring the student back after graduation. So we connected, we helped the employer. The student ended up the employer ended up bringing a co-op student for a 4 month experience in the summer, and things worked out great. The student loved the experience. The employer really appreciated the help and the work that the student was doing. The employer did something right. They devoted the time and the mentorship for the student during this period. They made sure that the student had a great experience, and effectively they finished the co-op, and the student remained employed through the academic year part-time. Again, the employer was always thinking long-term. They were thinking that when the student graduated, they wanted to bring him back, and they did so. They made an offer to the student to come back as a full-time employee, and the student came back um, and continued working with the organization full-time after graduation. Now that former student, is with this organization is now a mentor to new co-op students that are coming to the organization. So this was really a win-win story for the student, for the employer, um, just because the employer recognized that this was a means for them to feed into that uh, talent pipeline that I was referring to before. And this really speaks of the value of hiring co-op students and having a plan for it. I don't think it's just hiring students, hiring warm bodies, but really having a plan and seeing students as resources that can add value to organizations.
Thank you so much for that, Daniel. And I think you just touched on something that I want to ask Holly about in the question that I have for you, Holly, which is you mentioned a plan, having a plan for your co-op students. Holly, what do you think are some of the key ingredients for a successful co-op placement within an organization? We know that some of the smaller companies do not have large talent acquisition teams. They are not as structured. They lack some of the resources. What's the recipe for success? What are the key ingredients to making a co-op placement work?
For sure. So the first thing that I would say is it's important to define what the student's role is at the start and what's expected of them. So students really excel when they understand what's expected and how their work contributes to the organization's goals. So, provide a clear project outline or a task list that can make a big difference. I also recommend giving students like side tasks that they can do when their main job duties are complete or when no one's around to ask for something for help or do work. Um, and in addition to these day-to-day responsibilities, you can also consider giving them a longer term project to work on in the side when they have some free time. It also helps them learn time management as well, and that they can complete it and present it to the team at the end of the term. So, for example, there are some companies that have their students present to the leadership team at the end of the term. They'll hold it in a boardroom, and this gives the students a chance to practice presentation skills in front of management in a professional setting. And then the management team also gets to hear what the students been working on and hear their ideas. So another thing that is very important is mentorship. So you might be thinking, well, I'm hiring somebody because I don't have time, but it doesn't need to be an ongoing, 100% of the time thing. You could assign a buddy who could be maybe a senior employee on staff that can serve as the person that the student can check in with. And this is sometimes easier when the student may not feel like they don't want to bother their supervisor, who might even be the owner of the company, right? And a co-op employer that I work with said that they also consider this as an opportunity to give their staff a chance to train and supervise staff when they otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to have direct reports. So, even 15, 20 minutes a week that can have an impact, keep the student on track and give them guidance and make sure that they feel supported and not, forgotten about. Set something up in the calendar, keep it like I've hired students before to help me out. And I know sometimes it seems very busy, but just, have 10 minutes, a couple times a week as a standard check-in. That really helps. Also, make sure that their work is meaningful. Students really thrive when they understand the why behind their tasks and encourage them to ask questions. So, for example, one of a co-op student that I was working with told me that she was working in a lab, routine tasks, very repetitive. It would have been really easy just to go along with it without really understanding why they were doing it. But their employer made sure that the student understood what the research study that this was contributing or described what the research study was the student was working on and why their task mattered to that. So then later, when the student was working on their own, they made a mistake, and it would have been really easy to hide it, not admit it. But then, because they realized the impact of the mistake would have on the bigger picture of the study, they made sure they took the appropriate steps, told the supervisor, stopped what they were doing, and then went through it again. So that was really important. And then the student also didn't feel like it was like a nothing task. It felt important. Another thing would be to offer flexibility and learning opportunities. So when you're a small business, you might often need the students to take on a variety of different tasks and jump around a little bit. That's a great opportunity for their growth. Just be clear about this. Be clear about it in the job description and encourage them to learn, talk to the other employees there and be curious so that they can contribute in the different areas and not feel like they're kind of, maybe floundering a little bit. And then finally, regular constructive feedback is really important. Encourage the students to reflect on what they're learning. At the University of Manitoba, most co-op students also get academic credit and complete a series of assignments and reflection and a project at the end as part of their what they get graded on for the academic component. So that reflection is built in. Um, but if you have regular feedback for the student, that strengthens their development on the go, and helps them to make, steps towards correcting anything that needs to be improved. Also, consider holding an exit interview at the end of the term. Find out what worked, what didn't work. After that relationship is built, the student's more comfortable with sharing that kind of thing. That could be really helpful for not just that situation, but like the whole organization as a whole. That's what I would recommend to set up for success. You don't have to have a huge HR team to do these things, but it really makes a difference.
Thank you. Okay, quick question for you. If we have a small employer, they are wanting to hire a co-op student, they've reached out to your co-op department, what key information do they need to provide your team with in order to find a student through your school?
Well, make sure that you have a clear understanding of what you want the student to do. So we'll always ask for a job description, which not only includes what the job duties are, but what the key requirements are in a student that you're looking for. And, most co-op coordinators, co-op staff will help guide you towards making a little bit more robust if needed, or managing expectations with what the students can provide in terms of knowledge and expertise. So that full job description, even if it's not going to be shared with the students from the get-go, you will also need to have a wage or wage range established of what you are going to be paying the student, hours, and also anticipated start and end date for the term. So again, the co-op office can usually guide you towards what should be offered, but those are some key things that you should have prepared and ready to go, and it'll make it a lot easier to get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly. And I'm going to jump over to you, Andrea. The question I have for you is how can employers design projects or roles that provide meaningful experience for students while delivering real business value?
Uh, Thank you for the question. I'm going to focus on the real business value and having real world business problems. And if there is something that you find is an issue with your business, you can guide the student and let the student analyze the issue and write up a proposal. This is what we do here at UMB St. John is that they look at an issue or a problem within the business, and then they come up with a proposal and their work term report at the end of the term is how they dealt with that problem. And what they can do is they can do research and seek out expertise, because the great thing about hiring a co-op student is you not only have access to the student's expertise, but they can actually reach out to faculty members, their instructors, and that sort of thing, and gain some insight into what the business problem may be, or get extra expertise, or even in some cases professional development. So if you have a case of you want to streamline your processes with vendors and suppliers, or maybe payroll, or even scheduling, the student can help you with that. Um, Marketing, especially with social media, because if you're getting a university student, there may be social media applications that you might not be familiar with, but that age cohort is using. So you would have access to that, and also sometimes it's cultural as well. You might have students that, if they're a particular cohort, um, they may have communication lines that we don't know about, that they may talk to each other. So you can expand on your marketing, on your website development from that. We've had students who are in accounting that have requested just a little bit of professional development and a mentorship on advanced Excel functions that they were using in the workplace. So again, that's another way that the student can reach out to their instructors or to our faculty members and gain a little bit more expertise. And that's, they're learning on the job as well, but you're also benefiting as the employer from that. And we also have project management. There's a lot of software out there for project management. If you're rolling out a new product, for example, it's that the students can access, and we certainly help with that. And again, the faculty members do as well. It's also maybe not always focusing on a problem either. You might share your best practices with the students, and the quick wins that you have as well, and the students can build on top of those, and just make it more of a meaningful experience for them, but also for you, and just brainstorming on ideas on how to grow the more successful parts of your business while focusing on an issue or a problem as well. And I always say that it's great for students to have something that is braggable, because when they go into future interviews and that sort of thing, the question's always there is like, so, tell us about something that you're particularly proud of. So if there's a way that they can have a quick win within your organization, they can talk about that in future jobs. And it's a little bit of marketing for your company if the student is out there talking about it, and the positive experience that they've had with their co-op position.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And I love how you mentioned the different disciplines and programs of study. I think this is a perfect segue to throw in that through the Student Work Placement Program, we are also able to fund a wide range of students in different programs of study. We recognize that even within the food and beverage industry, that there are a host of different needs. We need accountants, we need social media, we need brand and marketing, we need customer service, we need the human resources, we need the legal team in addition to the food science programs. And, we need it all. What is important is that when we're talking about eligibility and funding, is that one, the employer is in the food and beverage processing sector to be eligible for this stream of funding through Food Processing Skills Canada. And then on the flip side, the student is engaged in a work integrated learning placement. So we're talking about an accounting student doing an accounting internship in a food and beverage processing facility. So we're not restricted to just food science and food related programs. We are open to a multidisciplinary approach. We just also have to make sure that we're meeting that requirement for work integrated learning and that we're getting that endorsement. I think you've all shared some very valuable points. I do have a very quick question that I would like to pose to all of you. And it is, what are a few quick wins small businesses can implement right away to create a great co-op experience? Or what are some huge mistakes that companies are making straight off the bat when they're engaging with hiring students? There was a question in the chat. I will just tie this in here. What was the question? What common challenges do students face in co-op placements and how can they overcome them? So quick win or quick fail. What if you could give a quick answer on absolute do's and don'ts? I'm gonna start, let's go back to the beginning. Let's start with Daniel. If you can share quick win, quick fail.
Perfect. Thank you, Camille. Quick win, I think for everyone who is looking to implement or bring a co-op student to the organization, I would highly encourage you connect, or I first identify and connect with the co-op officers from the schools that you have identified that you want to work with. We are here to support employers. We are here to help you find the talent that you're looking for, and we're here to help students connect with meaningful opportunities. So think about connecting with us. We want to help you, and we want to work. Camille was talking about that synergy between organizations, institutions, higher ed institutions, and delivery partners. We're here to work together and to help you succeed. So I think that I would highlight that. And in terms of common mistakes, a quick mistake that comes to mind is being narrow-sighted. Sometimes organizations think of a co-op student as someone who's going to come and be cheap labor. And that's a big mistake because students have lots of strengths. They are very capable. They are very motivated. And oftentimes they're looking to make a career. So if you're thinking in the long term, if you're thinking about bringing a student, training them, mentoring them rightly, you are training your future workforce. If you're not doing those things correctly, perhaps you're training them for somebody else to reap the fruits of that training. So I would encourage you to think about the long term and think about how you can train these students, give them a great experience, because then they're going to be coming back to you and hopefully help your organization grow and prosper.
Training with a view of retention. I love it. Holly, same question to you. Quick win, quick fail. What can a company do to set them up for success?
Okay, well, first off the bat, make sure you have an onboarding checklist. You'd be surprised at how many students have started on their first day didn't meet anyone and didn't even have a computer ready to go. So don't underestimate how long it takes to get that technology set up. Make them feel welcome right off the bat. Even something like if you're planning on taking them out for lunch, let them know so they don't already have a lunch that they packed and then they don't know what to do with it, right? Like those are just little things that we all know make you feel a little awkward and unwelcome on your first day. So if you're prepared, the student will feel welcome. Also, let the student know how you want them to ask questions or interact with you. You know, do you want them to set up a meeting? Open door policy? Can they walk right up? So you might think it's obvious to you, but they may have had another supervisor that operated totally differently. So just basically, in short, set up the expectations right off the bat so that they are not uncertain and feel welcome, and that you are also not wondering, what are they thinking? Are they uncomfortable? Why aren't they doing anything, right? Like you've already established what the expectations are. So common mistakes, I think I touched upon this already, or limited communication and support. You might have hired someone because you or your team are really busy. Sometimes it's easy to forget about your students. So those touch points I mentioned earlier will help. And then just yeah, don't underestimate what the onboarding needs are, or expect too much of the student. When I worked at the Asper School of Business, I did see this. Sometimes a small business might expect a marketing student to come on board and act like a consultant or have a ton of knowledge. And they do have knowledge, they do have ideas, but they aren't that experts. So they do need some guidance and help. So just same way as you manage their expectations, manage your expectations. And then, as we all know, when that is done, people are usually satisfied with the results.
Thank you, Holly. And same question to you, Andrea. Quick win, quick fail.
Okay, I'm going to build a little bit off of Holly. I loved everything that both of you have said already. I would, as you're onboarding them, have a conversation with the student and find out what their strengths are, because there may be some things that they can do that you didn't know when you hired them that can build upon, again, your best practices or can help with a problem or an issue in your business. So the students are a little bit limited, but in other ways, they have maybe skills that you haven't even considered, but that can be used and utilized in their co-op that you never thought of before, which is exciting. A quick fail is assuming that the student can work unsupervised at the very, very beginning. Holly mentioned this as well, as that, you might forget about your student, which, can happen. But the students at the beginning do need supervision, and they do need the guidelines on what their role is and what they should be doing. And they may need to have just that extra little bit of information, or just a little bit of boosting confidence, and that they are doing a good job. And so sometimes it's if you put them on task and then you just let them go, some students may be a little bit of intimidated by that, and they might require a little bit more encouragement or mentorship.
Thank you so much. Big thank you to Danielle, Holly, and Andrea. Thank you so much for joining our conversation, for sharing such incredible insights, specific to our smaller processors. It's amazing just what we don't know that we don't know. And just thank you. Thank you for sharing the information with us. If anyone has any questions specifically for Holly or Danielle or Andrea, I would invite you to reach out to them or their teams directly. If you're looking for a co-op student and these are one of your local post-secondary institutions, this is a great place to start in finding your eligible co-op student for the winter 2026 term or planning beyond. So for small businesses, your co-op students is not just about filling a short-term need or a vacancy, but it is also planning for your future. This is a part of your ongoing hiring processes. We're talking about retention. We're talking about future planning here. And SWPP is here to provide funding to support you in those hiring decisions. And SWPP is just a part of Food Processing Skills Canada. So I'm bringing it back to where we started our conversation. Food Processing Skills Canada is a hub for workforce development for the food and beverage industry. If you have never been on our website, I encourage you to visit our website. That's fpsc-ctac.com, and look and explore all of the resources that we have available specific to the food and beverage industry. We have our data center, we have workforce development, we have training, we have tools, we have programs, we have events. This is a hub for being able to access resources specific to your industry so that you can grow your organization. So through the Student Work Placement Program, FPSC is able to offer a complimentary suite of courses to help with that onboarding process, to help with a successful transition for your student entering into your organization, not just for the student, but also for the employer as well. So for the employer, we're learning on emotional intelligence, we're learning interpersonal relationships, empathy at work, building team resilience, building a respectful workplace, supervise employee performance. All of these things are essential components to creating effective leaders in the workplace. And effective leaders, we know, help to create effective employees and workers and to help to train that next generation. So we want to partner with you. We're providing these complimentary courses to assist in that onboarding process. And similarly, for your students that are coming onto your organization, we have, again, a complimentary suite of courses that we're able to offer, the total of which is valued at about $4,000 worth of courses. I Am Food. Think of a student that has never been in a food production facility and how overwhelming that is. There are things that need to be done. There are ways that things need to be done in a food production facility. And as one of our panelists has said, it's important to understand the why behind what it is that you're doing. So we're offering those courses. I Am Food, Introduction to the Canadian Food and Beverage Manufacturing Industry, Employer and Employee Expectations, Good Manufacturing Practices, Food Safety Culture and Youth, Sanitation Level 1, Workplace and Industrial Safety, Lockout, Tagout, and HACCP Fundamentals. This is our gift to you. We don't want to just provide you with funding and say, here, take a student and go. We want to prepare you for success. And we're getting all of these resources through Food Processing Skills Canada. Another bit that we're able to offer through Food Processing Skills Canada as just a taste of what we have is we have a human resource toolkit. If you're a smaller organization and you don't have a large talent acquisition team, you do not have a structured HR team, we have a module that is built just for you to help you establish some of these things within the food and beverage industry so that you are better prepared for success. So this module includes, this package includes 10 modules, including compensation and benefits, staffing and orientation, how you can set up your students for success, but not just your students, just your overall company, new employees, how you can structure your organization so that you're tackling some of these administrative issues that you can focus on the meat of the matter, which could very well be the meat of the matter. And all of this is available through the Canadian Food Processors Institute. If you've never heard of them before, this is one of the other resources we have through Food Processing Skills Canada. Go and explore. We also have courses on branding. We have courses on HACCP and related food-related courses and training and development. Tremendous resources through Food Processing Skills Canada. I just want to share with you one of the events that we did recently. We had a front of package nutrition and labeling and supplemented foods workshop. We host events throughout the year that would be tremendous for food processors that are just getting started to participate in. Tremendous experience that we're leveraging at these workshops, great opportunities to learn and to get engaged. And we have a few events coming up on December 18th. We have another webinar coming up, Navigating Trade Uncertainty, the impact of tariffs on Canada's food and beverage manufacturers. If you have not yet registered, this is an event that you do not want to miss. And we also have Leading the Future with Emotional Intelligence workshops. This is another one coming up in March of next year. Again, resources that you do not want to miss. If you have not yet visited the Food Processing Skills Canada page, this is your hub for workforce development. You have to go there. You have to see the resources that we have available. I'm going to now open the floor to Q&A to see if there are any additional questions. I did answer a few while we were discussing, but if there are any additional questions that are in the chat, Rebecca, do we have any questions that were not answered?
We did. We did get one question. Somebody just asking about, you had mentioned newcomers and wanted to clarify about international students. I did answer this in the chat, but I just wanted to highlight that we at this time and the way our program works, we cannot fund international students, unfortunately.
We cannot. The distinction between newcomers versus international students, eligible newcomers would be landed permanent residents. So within those first 5 years of being landed, that would be considered a newcomer. But international students are not eligible for funding through this stream. So just wanted to be very clear on that. Were
Yeah,
there
and
any
then other than
others?
that, it looks like you've answered most of them. Somebody had asked
Okay.
about specific funding for their sector. You had answered directly to that. Obviously, we're within the food and beverage industry. Looks like one just came in. Will you ever consider supporting international students? So this
I
isn't
would
up to
love
us.
to. I would love to, but that is not that's not up to us. This is a program funded and
Mhm,
structured by ESDC, and so we must act
mhm.
within the program parameters. And unfortunately, at this point in time, international students are not eligible for funding through this stream. Holly, you have a question on that?
I just wanted to add to that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with CWIL Canada, which is the Association for Co-op Education and Work Integrated Learning Canada. They deal direct. They are very much wanting to fund international students as well, and they have members of their team who work with connecting with government to have these discussions. So they are working on it, and as soon as it is an option, I know that SWIP funding would be something that they would want to offer international students. But there are members of this industry who are trying to connect and make it happen. But as of now, the federal government says only domestic or permanent resident refugee status.
Thank you, Holly. I say all the time, this program is operating in a structure where this is government funding and we are happy to support. At Food Processing Skills Canada, that's what we do. We support industry, and so that is our mandate. However, we are bound by our eligibility requirements. Um, Time, effort, and eligibility is what is going to get us to accessing this funding. So unfortunately, as it stands, until that is changed, international students are not eligible for funding at this time. We do not have an official opening date for summer 2026, but I would advise you to check our website in early February. We will be able to have an announcement at that time. I do have some other things that I would love to share with you. So I have 2 minutes. Let us see. What do we need to get started on a SWIP funding application? Do you need to have a student before you're able to start an application? And the short answer to that is no, you don't need a student, but you do need to, you can to start the process, but you do need to have your student hired in order for us to be able to proceed and to request documents and confirm eligibility before we're able to approve for funding. So you can go online, you can start your application process if you want to get started. It's a great avenue to also connect with our team, to ask for support if you need additional support. And you can start that process at that point in time. But the best approach is to contact your local post-secondary institutions, find your co-op students, and then you apply to SWIP funding through Food Processing Skills Canada. Again, we are one of 18 delivery partners, so ensuring that when you're submitting your application, you are joining the Food Processing Skills Canada community. If you're not sure if this is your industry, I would advise you to reach out to the team. We would be happy to guide you on where the best fit is for your organization. But we're dealing with, again, food and beverage processors, all subsectors or consultants, associations, and right, or food and beverage processors and right, post-secondary institutions are currently not eligible for funding. Neither are government agencies or municipalities are not eligible for funding. But if you have any questions, our team is very responsive. Please reach out to our team and we'll be happy to provide that guidance. And again, for our post-secondary institutions, we do have funding available for the fall 2025, winter 2026 terms. If you do have successful placements that have been completed for summer 2025, please reach out to me directly. We would be happy to have a conversation about retroactive funding if that is a suitable fit for placements that have already taken place. So that's currently where we're pushing. Our team is open and available. We would like to thank you all. I'm going to wrap the conversation at this point. But I would like to thank you all for participating. I would like to thank you for attending our wonderful discussion today. Thanks again to our panelists, to Daniel, to Holly, and to Andrea for representing your schools, Western University, University of Manitoba, University of New Brunswick. It has been a tremendous opportunity, and I certainly hope that those in attendance today have been able to learn more about who we are at FPSC, about SWIP funding, and specifically how we can leverage this opportunity to support small and micro businesses in the food and beverage sector. Thank you so much to those in attendance. We will be sending out our SWIP employer guide and the recording of this webinar, as well as the deck that we went through this afternoon for our conversations. Thank you so much and do have a wonderful rest of the day.